I'm John Sargent, and it's December 2021. We're in San Francisco at the Fairmont Hotel at the California Alarm Association.
I'm Charlie Darsch with the Security Museum.
Nathan Rousted from Wayne Alarm Systems.
And I'm Ralph Sevenor from Wayne Alarm Systems and the Security Museum. We're delighted to have you here. We've been collecting artifacts for over 25 years, and we saw the need to really put all the people together that have created such a great industry. A lot to learn in this. Thank you very much for attending, and we look forward to your comments in the future as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Sargent. I'm here with Charlie Darsch today, California Alarm Association. And we're going to talk to Ron Rothman, who is now with Turing. Ron, glad to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your early days, though. In fact, let's go back to the beginning. Even before you were in this industry, what did you think you might want to, do?
Well, it's interesting, John. I always loved building things. So I was the kid that had Lego or the erector set, often taking things apart. Wasn't sure if I could have put it back together again, but I love designing things and building things. And so I was always attracted to that, and I thought that at some point in my life I'd be involved in a manufacturing products kind of business. I didn't know what it would be. And when I got out of school in the early 80s, job market wasn't so terrific in those days. At least it wasn't for me. I had a marketing background, and I wasn't exactly attracting all the recruiters from the colleges. So I started answering newspaper ads. And sure enough, I cut one out of the paper one morning that was for a business called the Demco. I didn't even know what the acronym stood for. I just knew that they were looking for someone to answer the phone. So I cut the ad out and I mailed it in. Back in the day, you had to mail in your resume. And I went on an interview, and sure enough, they hired me to answer the phone.
Okay. And what year was that? No?
83. And as I like to say, they say that what the average overnight success takes 15 years. It took me 20, but I worked my way up from telephone to president.
Well, it
was fun.
Tell us about that. This is great. We'd like to hear the story.
Well, I had a lot of help, and some really brilliant people were there at the time. Leo Goodhart was the CEO. Roger Fraden was the president. And just brilliant men that led the business and gave me the opportunity to move up in the company, and loved the product development. I think back in those days, when I started in the early 80s, we were literally, ringing a bell and turning on a light. We were still selling 332 systems and keypads with the red light and green light and key switches. And to watch the products evolve to where we developed wireless, both short-range communications for transmitters, which are now commonplace, and to be able to then develop communications for central station monitoring, both radio and internet, and then apps. For phones, I had the pleasure of being involved in all those developments over that time. And it was fascinating and rewarding to have seen the industry grow and change and evolve from those early days, where we always dreamed that we could have a connected home. But in the 80s, the technology wouldn't allow it. And as it progressed, we were able to get to where we are now, where we have what everyone enjoys of lights and locks and thermostats and all of those great things you can do in a home were only to us something we dreamed of.
How were you selling these products at that time? How were you at the start when you were there?
Well, really rough, Charlie. We were thrilled we could turn on and off a relay, and we had a touch-tone phone module. Some of the people watching may not know what a touch-tone phone is, but so you would be fortunate enough that you'd be able to turn on a light or some piece of machinery in your building or your home with the tones over the phone, and that way you could turn the relay on. And then there were AC line carrier modules that some of us remember didn't work very well. So it was not a connected home. It was just a dream in those days.
What year was that again?
Well, early 80s, 83, in those days, that was when I started.
Okay.
So in your early years, I know, did you ever have any idea of where you were going to end up with this company?
Well, I always was hopeful that if I kept doing my job well, I'd have an opportunity to do more, and I did. And the relationship with the folks at Pitway and then following with Honeywell were terrific. And I was able to end up in a role where I had a global responsibility, and I did and experienced things that I didn't think I would have, and yet I fulfilled that dream after all. So it was a great time, and but I didn't really envision that in the 80s that I would end up running a global business.
Yeah. What, if you can think about this, what was the competition for your company like? You know, it's different than the alarm installers, alarm sales, that kind of thing. You've got competition where everybody's trying to come out with the best gadget and, you know, that kind of stuff. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think that it's what you'd expect in a products business. Correct. It's a little bit different than when on the dealer integrator side. But yeah, we were always focused on what was good for the alarm industry. How could we make the dealers and the integrators more successful? That was really our mission. So if we could make the systems easier to sell and easier to install and easier to collect recurring revenue and lower attrition, then we would have a winning solution. And that's why things like wireless would work, because it hit on all of those levers, both short range and long range wireless. And that was really, for us, we were really focused on improving the performance of our dealers' lives and businesses, and if we did that, that was our success measurement. In fact, it was one of Roger's quotes, which I still give him credit for, as quotes always should be. He said that we measured our success by their success, and we did. And we felt we had the best customers, and we were thrilled that they did well, and in return, we did well.
Your sales were made through, was it through salespeople or through what am I trying to say? I'm missing something here. How were your sales developed?
Well, we talked directly to the dealers, and we sold through ADI, which was our big partner and part of our business in those days. But most people don't even know that the A in ADI is Ademco Distribution Inc. Because in the early 80s, ADI didn't exist. We had many other distribution partners in those early days. And then as time went on, ADI became the larger player and the larger partner. But that's what the A stood for. And that's kind of a fun thing a lot of people don't necessarily know here. But no, we sold through the channel, and that's how the business was working in those days and still does.
Did you have dealers coming to you with some far-fetched ideas about what they wanted you to make for them or anything in that realm?
Well, sure, and maybe not so much far-fetched, but we always listened, and we always tried to find out what the industry and our customers wanted, because I think that's really important. There were two things that I was always focused on. One was that, my customers, and the other was the competition. Because you really need to be aware of what everyone's doing so you can try to make good decisions. So a lot of the things that they wanted, we would try to do, and sometimes they were further ahead with an idea than we could deliver on. Like I mentioned, the connected home is a great vision in the 80s, but the technology, the bandwidth, the wireless, it didn't exist yet. So you really couldn't have the connectivity that you have now. But it didn't mean people didn't ask for it. They did.
Looking at things, of course, now you're in a whole different realm. Maybe we can kind of connect now between the end there at Ademco and where you are. Can you tell us a little bit about where you've gone in this time?
Yeah, well, after I left Ademco in 2015, actually Honeywell, it was Honeywell at that point, and loved being there. It was time for me to do something else, and I had some personal challenges. I wanted to take some time, and I was thrilled to be able to become a consultant and advisor to several businesses in the industry, and really enjoyed that. And did that for 4 or 5 years. I was actually an investor in some, and And then I met the folks from Turing AI, which is the business I'm proudly the president of now. And the two gentlemen from Turing, the founders, were AI scientists. And they developed this business model actually from a tragedy. And that one of their student friends was killed on campus. And while there was a command center, they couldn't find the clip, they couldn't find the license plate. That technology really wasn't that good. This is a number of years ago already.
Yeah.
So it's tragic, but they took it as an opportunity to push themselves and use their computer vision AI skills to develop what is now Turing. And our goal is to make the roughly 100 million cameras, we'd love to get many of them, make them smarter, so that they can deliver on the promise that they're able to see so much, but yet they're not delivering enough in the industry right now. So we feel that the artificial intelligence that we're providing with the Turing Vision platform will allow these cameras to really make businesses more efficient and happier and safer employees and customers of those businesses. And so I think that the same concepts that I thought about back in the Demco and Honeywell days around ease of installation, ease of sales, how do we drive recurring revenue, how do we make the dealer's business more valuable, all of those are still in my mind, because the computer vision is a recurring revenue stream, which they'll be able to install easily. And they're providing a really good service for their end users. So it's really a win for every party. And that was really what attracted me to Turing, was the opportunity to apply the same kinds of things I had learned at Ademco and Honeywell, but now able to kind of do it again in a more modern technology, because it's all software.
How do you sell them? How do you sell the product? How is the product delivered to the customer through whomever?
Well, in a similar fashion, Charlie, so it would be a video system that simply has one of our bridges which connects to the internet, and the DVR, the NVR and the bridge are connected to our cloud, and the AI, the artificial intelligence is layered on top of the cameras, and it's a really simple installation, which is what attracted me to it. And we're selling it through distribution, ADI being one of our partners. And the products are readily available for the dealers to be able to have that same experience. Install something quickly and easily, be able to find people in cars and other things that are important, saving these clips quickly to their smartphone. So the philosophy, the same concepts are there. How do we deliver on the promise of making our dealers' lives and businesses more successful? That's the same message is what I have for Turing. It's the same thinking. Because I think if you think about the dealers and the integrators business first, you'll be successful. Because if they're successful, then it all works. If it's only good for Turing and it doesn't help anyone else, then I don't believe that it's a good business model.
Mm-hmm. Looking back, you must have run into some really humorous times with things. And I don't mean to cut you off guard, but is there something that really stands out in your mind? And it could be at any time, with any company. You don't have to mention them, but I'll leave it up to you. Something there you could tell us about.
I do have one funny story popped into my head as you were just asking me. And I'm going to date myself, so it's a history quiz too. For those of us old enough to remember the 612 dialer, the 612 dialer had a programmer. I think it was a 613. I forget what the programmer was, but there was literally you made a tape, if you remember.
Yes.
You guys remember.
Exactly.
And it was a reel-to-reel tape, which really dates us. And so the story is that when I got the job at Ademco in the early 80s, nobody wanted to make these tapes. It was not a fun job because you had to take a microphone, go into another room, and you had to literally say, after you dialed the number in, and it was literally you dialed it like an old dial, and it would listen to the digits and and that would put the number onto the tape. And then you'd have to take the microphone and say, this is an emergency, please stand by. And you'd go through this thing for several minutes. Mm-hmm. There's been an alarm at the Rothman residence. And this tape is calling the police. This is before the digital dialers were popular. Well, of course, the guys at Ademco set me up. They trained me how to do this tape. And I go into the room to start doing it. I'm halfway into it. And of course, they're banging on the door, making all sorts of noise and commotion. How's it going in there, Ron? To start the tape all over. Because it's one shot. You can't program, you can't tape over it.
You can't start.
Can't start over. So they kept doing that to me, and that was kind of the ritual of being the new guy. And I'll never forget that story, because
Roughly what
I was set.
that, do you think?
It was probably 1983. It was probably the first month I was there. But I never forgot it. And I have a love of this equipment, as you guys do, and Ralph. And I have a tape dialer sitting right in my office, and I look at it every day, and I remind myself of where we've come.
Yeah, yeah.
And we competed.
You were making your version, right?
Yes, of course.
Well, I'll tell you, any final thoughts? Now, the floor is open for you. Any final thoughts that you'd like to mention here?
I think the only thing that comes to mind is how lucky and blessed I am that I happened to send that resume off to Ademco in 1983, because it was a life-changing moment. You know, you can't predict that. Mm-hmm. And that it went in the mail, and I got the interview, and the life that I had since then, I would have had a different life. I wouldn't have engaged with the people that I knew, including you two and everyone else I've met in this industry. And I just think that this is such a terrific industry. And I think that those of us that had a chance to be in it recognize that, because it's grown exponentially over these years. It just keeps getting larger and creates more opportunity and continues to make people's lives, better and safer, in an amazing way where we haven't been replaced by something else.
Yeah.
We may think we will be, but every time something happens, we seem to take advantage of it in a good way, where we're able to deliver a technology. We may not invent it all, but we apply it, and we find ways to make our customers' lives safer and happier. And I'm proud of that, and I hope that continues in my time with Turing. I hope I'm here for a whole nother chapter of my life, and can continue to see the industry develop to wherever it goes next. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Ron, thank you so much.
Great seeing you guys.
It's a pleasure having you.
Yes. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.